Hey there, garden friends. It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. Today is Sunday, February 13th, and I'm going to take you on a late winter garden tour. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. It means a lot. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? So welcome to my garden. It is mid-February, and even though there's not a ton to show, I am going to start you out with a garden tour for the year because quickly things are going to start to come into bloom. And so I wanted to show you kind of the before, just burgeoning. I'll give you a tour of the backyard garden, our little cottage garden, and the front yard cutting garden, which is really where the flower farm is. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. So I look forward to giving you this tour. I hope you enjoy. So welcome to the backyard garden. I'm standing in the entrance from the side yard that leads from the front door. So you're not really missing much behind me. This retaining wall is eventually going to get replaced. Maybe we'll put some terraces in there so that we have more growing space. But as you can see, it's very shaded. We have California live oak, California buckeye, which is just starting to leaf out, and a couple of Japanese maples like this little guy here. Down here in these beds, as a project for this coming year, there are some grasses that I put in last year, the year before, a few straggling surviving ferns, but I'm going to add a lot more shade-loving perennials in here. Here are our two greenstock towers. We've got mostly herbs, some lettuces, strawberries, and you can see one of them is already starting, a couple of them are starting to set flower already. I've got some carrots up here. Over here is mostly lettuces, arugula, so it's romaine, arugula, pak choi, and some broccoli. It's time to harvest that. These pots here, there's two of them, this one right here and that one over there. They are full of ranunculus on the outside ring, and in the middle there are about 50 tulips. So, and they're starting to come up too, so I'm looking forward to that. Over here in these pots, I have a variety of spring blooming bulbs. There are some hyacinths and crocus, just a whole bunch of stuff. So they are obviously starting to come up. I'm super excited. I can't wait to see. Oh, this is a surprise guy here. I don't know what that is, but it's not really supposed to be in there. I'm looking forward to seeing them. I try to do a collection so that there's something different in the middle, and they're surrounded by color variety that will match them on the outside. So again, the fern bed, this whole bed pretty much stays shaded almost the entire day. So ferns, it's great for in here. I have to do a whole lot of spring cleanup, getting rid of all of this dead foliage here. These ferns get absolutely huge during the season with about a 3.5 to 4 foot spread and about 3 feet high. It's amazing. They die back at the end of the season, and then by midsummer, you can't see the pool pump or anything. They're just completely covering this area. So then over here, more shade garden. We have a lot of shade in this garden. This is Camellia japonica, and it's still got a couple of blooms on here. This is a Camellia sinensis. It blooms in December, so all of its blooms are gone now. There's another Laura petalum. Those are all over the place. This right here is a Fire Island hydrangea, and you can see buds are starting to break there. So we can get the camera to focus. There we go. Nothing in that pot yet, except some rogue paper whites. This is a star jasmine, which I just planted up last season. So as time goes on, it will continue to cover this trellis. I always put a bunch of stuff at the bottom that's seasonal. There were mums in there, and now I'm going to add some really pretty primulas. And then as we get closer to summer, a bunch of nasturtiums, which then trail over the edge of this pot. This is a type of geranium. It's got little purple flowers on it. It's very pretty. Again, all shade. And in here is a tiny bed of euchera and lamium that I just planted. Some of those lamium plugs liners that I got in the mail. There's also a hellebore. This thing has crazy long stems on it, which is really awesome. I've been able to cut from it. And then a Chinese lantern. Back there, another japonica. And we have this downed Camellia sinensis, which fell after the rains. The soil was just too wet, so I need to take it apart. Even though it still looks green, standing it back up, there's no way it's going to survive. This right here is a Japanese maple. It will get leafed out soon. Back behind this hedge is just our compost pile and our pool pump. So nothing very exciting there. We've got a rogue blackberry coming up there, which actually I probably will pull out just because it's got thorns. We're on the back side of the greenhouse right now, right, by the way. This is a really pretty azalea. You can see it's already starting to get some of its blooms, but this whole shrub will be covered in pink blooms in the next couple of weeks. This is all jasmine along this this fence trellis that's hiding the pool pump. And look at this cherry. It's got all of its blooms on it. So pretty. I wish they had a scent. This is one of the many California buckeyes that we have on our property. These are a native plant. They are the first to leaf out in the spring. So pretty. Then they get these really amazing panicle flowers on them. And they are also the first to lose their leaves at the end of summer. And it kind of happens in about like August. And you start thinking, oh no, there's a bunch of dead trees in the landscape. But they're not dead. They're doing what they usually do. They are a harbinger of fall, but they come months ahead of time. All this ivy was already here when we moved in. Pretty much all of this stuff was here when we moved in. We haven't done anything with it because it's basically holding the steep hillside in place. This is another Japanese maple that I did a major pruning of in the fall, so I'm happy to see that it's still looking good. And then 2 pots of tulips that the squirrels have ravaged. But that's okay, because I have all the tulips in the greenhouse, which are pristine, and I'm super excited about. Just these little steps down here go to my access to the bird feeder. There's our seasonal creek back there. And then this is all grass that we seeded in the fall. It's come up nice and lush. I'm really happy about that. This is, as you can see, a mostly shaded area all day. Dappled, but mostly shaded. This giant pot holds a fig. It's a brown turkey fig. I wish I had a place in the landscape for it, but I just don't have the right soil here. We are heavy clay. Our native soil is heavy clay. So even amending the hole would basically make it pot bound in a hole. So it's a struggle. These are leftover kale, decorative kale. This is the red variety from the fall. And you can just see how crazy they are, right? Those are mums that are left over from the fall. Since they are perennial, all I did was cut back the dead stuff and they'll keep coming, but this pot's gonna get cleaned out so I can put some spring stuff in it. This is a Meyer lemon tree that is struggling with chlorosis. So I keep treating it with iron and I'm hoping it'll get better. We have repotted it and it's still not happy, so not sure what we're going to do about that. This is a hydrangea, macrophylla hydrangea. It's already starting to bud out. A lavender, ponytail palm that actually is an indoor plant, but it had really bad spider mites, so I brought it out here and I kept cleaning it, and it's just overwintered outside, which is kind of crazy. I didn't think it would survive the freezing temperatures, but it did. Another pot that I'm about to plant up, and another pot of tulips that the squirrels have decimated. But again, those were extra bulbs, and it's not a big deal. That is an avocado tree, which I need to find a place for. We opened an avocado a couple years ago, and it literally already had, the pit inside had already sprouted. It had about 1.5 inches of green material coming out the top. So we planted it just for the heck of it. And this is about 3 years later. It will be happy if we can get it in the ground somewhere, but they get huge. So finding the proper site is going to be a challenge. So that's why it's still in this pot. Starting in on the cottage garden here, again, needs to be spring cleaned. I haven't started that yet, but I'm hoping to get to that this week. These are some gorgeous red rooster carex grasses. These guys get nice and tall. I thought they would be a pretty anchor over here on this side. I'm also going to grow a morning glory up a very tall stake here. That's not the stake because that's very short, but I haven't put it in yet, but I'm going to seed it. We've got some lupins in here, some lavender hyssop, lots of foxglove, and I haven't even transplanted the foxglove plugs yet. We've got a couple different types of lavender, lots of different types of narcissus are starting to pop up. And again, all of this stuff needs to be spring cleaned, so I will cut back all the dead material and expose all the new stuff coming up from the bottom. We've got echinacea in here. We have Dusty Miller that was grown from seed, which I absolutely love. A bunch of little border plants, which I honestly cannot remember the name of right now, but they will fill in and close up this border. This is actually Artemisia silvermound. It will come back and be nice and lush. I just need to trim it back. That's on my list. So more foxglove, lots of columbines, gara, sweet alyssum, Alcamellia mollis, or lady's mantle. We have snowberries. Just a whole variety of things back here. More hyssops. Some irises, different types of bearded irises. We have nemesia. I need to cut this back so that you can see the nemesia is starting to flower. Look how pretty. Nemesia has a beautiful, sweet, sweet scent. Yeah, I need to come and cut back this dusty so that nemesia has room to flower. We have a couple different colors in here. Some ornamental grasses. Gara. I'm letting this foxglove spike go to seed because they do self-seed readily, and more and more plants will come up every year. We have Gaillardia in here, and you can see all these spring bulbs starting to come up. California poppies. There's another daffodil coming up right there, which is exciting. That's a tall variety. We have some yarrow in here, a variety of salvias. We also have lantana, a different variety of Dusty Miller, which is, again, I need to cut back to the ground so it can put on some new growth. There's more lupins over here. There's some hyacinths starting to burst through. I need to clean up around them. Here's our first daffodil right there. And then in the back we have buddleia and a whole bunch of hollyhocks. So this year, since they are biennials, they will get tall. And then when these trees leaf out, we have a nice screen of the trees and standing flowers. So these are the two pots that I planted up in a previous video with the Thunbergia. I'm really excited about that. Can't wait to see that coming up. These pots they still need to be emptied. We had a bunch of containers left over for some shrubs that we planted out in the front walkway last year, and I used them to grow tomatoes here in this very sunny and warm spot. Tomatoes and peppers, they were extra that we had left over from our seedling sale. And so that was really nice. They get a lot of heat right here, and so they did really well. This is the additional part of the cottage garden, some of the same stuff in here, and then that helichrysum, which is so pretty. And look at those snowdrops. Then we have our climbing roses. I'm still going to tackle that one and that one, but these two are tied up. All of these succulents and cacti here don't actually stay here all winter. They don't stay here in the summertime. They go out around the pool area, the patio area, but they're here because they can't handle torrential downpours of rain it just waterlogs them and they die. So this is keeping them under cover. And then the ranunculus and rudbeckia beds that I cleaned out the other day. So this is our sidewalk leading from the backyard to the front. Not much to see right now. We've done a ton of work out here, bringing in lots of boulders and trying to stabilize this hillside and planting a whole bunch of things. Decorative ornamental grasses, and I put a lot of lamium back here. This one, this is a plug that I just planted, and then this one was from last summer that I planted. So you can see how easily they spread. So that will cover this whole front here. There are heucheras, lobelias, lots of shade tolerant plants in here like astilbes and hostas, but they die back, so they're not up just yet. Okay, so outside along the front walk, this container here with star jasmine, a fern, and a euchera stays in the shade all the time, never gets any sun, and it's quite happy here. We've got some little tiny boxwoods in these little compartments here. I keep them trimmed. They're about due for a trim. These are the containers that I planted up in a previous video. We've got some jade. This is just the front walk where we kind of renovated and added a whole bunch, first of all, a whole bunch of daffodils, and you can see them all coming up. The azalea and camellia walk is on this side. So all of these daffodils, we've got ornamental grasses in here. We've got creeping thymes, azaleas, euphorbias, silver sheen pittosporum, red twig dogwood, lots of hellebores, and then all of these daffodils. I just can't wait to see when they all come up. We've got different types of lavender in here. Yeah, so a whole bunch of stuff. It's slowly starting to fill in. And of course the azaleas are starting to bloom. So now off to the cutting garden. Over here to the side is just this little patch, the side of the garage here. We've got euphorbia and a dawn redwood that I keep cutting back. Just a whole bunch of little things. That bed's probably going to get cleaned out, and if we end up doing an extension off the side of the garage, that will have to go away. This is a giant manzanita back here. I love this plant. Beautiful red stems on it, and look at these lovely flowers. Manzanita, a California native. There's a whole bunch of them, different varieties. Up here, the narcissus are starting to come up in this bed and in this bed, and they're outside the deer fence because deer don't bother them. Okay, so we had our tour of the vegetable garden the other day. I've got ranunculus growing over there, but the cut flower garden is coming along. So here we have agrostemma and some bachelor buttons and sweet Annie. And this daucus is just struggling. So I think I just might cancel the daucus and put something different in there. We have two climbing roses here that are slowly making their way, actually not too slowly, over this trellis because I just installed it at the end of last spring. This is my pollinator bed that desperately needs cleanup. There's lavender, there is rudbeckia, there are 5 or 6 different types of salvia, there's buddleia, this is one of the giant salvias here. All of these I cut back within 6 inches to the ground every spring. I'm about to do that, probably today. And they come back and get taller and bushier every year with more and more blooms. So lots and lots of flowers. Everything in this bed is designed to bring in pollinators. And then we have our 5 variety plum tree. It's about to be bursting with flowers. Look at that. We have blackberry bushes. Those are thornless blackberries, and the pots of blueberries. That one stayed leafed out, but it's definitely got lots of buds on it. This one lost its leaves, but it's also developing buds, so that's great. This is a pear tree right here. There is an apple there. I think that's a Gravenstein. And this one is a Honeycrisp. And this is another apple, which I think it's a Braeburn. Today I bought 2 citrus. There's a thornless Mexican lime in the back there on the stake. And this is a Meyer lemon. Look at those blooms. Man, the car smelled amazing driving home. All right, so the growing beds. This is sweet peas. They're kind of struggling. We'll see what happens, but I have more growing in the greenhouse. All the way down, the rest of that bed is going to be amaranth growing up along the fence line there. This is my, this is the bed that got mostly devastated by the rodents, so it's all ranunculus. The stuff on the right side's doing great, but on the left, I don't know if it's going to come back enough to give me any kind of blooms. Maybe it'll end up being kind of succession where I have the first round of ranunculus, and then these will, this one's getting leaves back, so we'll see. I just guess I have to be patient, but whew, yeah, they got tore up. So I will be having ranunculus, but I don't know how many. See how much got destroyed. So some of the snaps that got destroyed actually are coming back. And this one's looking pretty good. But I do have plugs. So I am going to be pulling out anything that looks weak. And when the plugs arrive, they're going in. This funny looking bed along here, which has all the holes, you can see where the rodents came. This is actually a perennial yarrow bed, and you can see some of the yarrow here. Yarrow makes an amazing cut and an amazing dried flower. I have a bunch of different varieties along here for different colors, and I have a few more that I'm going to pop in. This is a patch also destroyed by rodents of scabiosa, but I planted some plugs, and you can see they're starting to come in. They're starting to do okay. This was snaps. There's still a few, but this is where most of those plugs are going to go. This whole line here will be snapdragons. Here we have status. Doesn't look like much right now, but this is going to get dense as the season goes on, and there'll be tons of different colors in here. And then we have stock, which is definitely doing well. We are getting very close with stock on some blooms. That one says, the label says apricot, but it looks yellow, so we'll see what happens. Lots of stock. Stock is a one cut and done. It is not a cut and come again. So once these get harvested, then this part of the bed gets turned over and I put something else in. This is orlaia. This also got eaten to the ground, but it's coming back. It will start sending up flower spikes in another month or so. There's another second succession of orlaia in here. They're really tiny, but they're doing okay. This is all nigella. 3 different varieties of nigella. This is straw flower. A bunch of different colors here. And then we enter the feverfew. I have like 3 varieties of feverfew going through here, and I can't wait to start harvesting those. Feverfew is so wonderful for bouquets. And there is more yarrow in this crazy looking bed. This was not laid out as a bed. It's just extra dirt. And they popped up. And then this bed is going to be the perennial dahlia bed. This is kind of the bonus bed. This plot here is not very big, as you can see, but it's wider at that end than it is at this end. So down here, I can really only fit 3 beds that are 3 feet wide. And as you move forward, there is more space. So I was able to put in this kind of bonus bed. So right now there's nothing down here. It's staying open because I'm going to put all my dahlias in there. This is all calendula that I fall planted in here. And as you can see, it's already giving us plenty of blooms. That's orange button. So I'll harvest off that for a little while until it's time to put the dahlias in the ground. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that brief February garden tour. Things are still kind of a mess, and I think in a couple of weeks when I do the March one, there'll be a huge difference because not only will things be cleaned up, but we'll have lots of spring flowering bulbs to look at. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.